So we're continuing with our series on true Christian character. In part 1, we talked about how true Christian character is wholly dependent on God. Part 2 looked at how true Christian character mourns over sin. And today in part 3, we're looking at how true Christian character is humble and patient. Hey there, my name is Joyce Omondi Waihiga. I hope you're well and had a great week. Welcome back to another episode of CITAM Church Online. So, Mathew chapter 5, verse 5. Blessed are the meek, for they will inherit the earth. So, what does it mean to be meek? It's actually a word that often has some pretty negative connotations to it. And I looked up some definitions on the internet, and here's what I found. Deficient in spirit and courage, not strong, easily imposed on, overly submissive. By these definitions, being meek is a weakness, but Jesus himself, our role model for righteousness, wasn't meek or deficient in spirit and courage. In fact, he defied the Pharisees. He overturned the tables of the money changers in the temple, and he never backed down from preaching the truth of salvation. So, by Christ's example, let's just agree that being meek does not equal being timid, right? Great. So, who exactly then are these people? What are they like when we say that someone is meek? Well, this beatitude was actually alluded to in Psalm chapter 37, and verse 5 to 11 provide the base for who the meek are and what we can learn about true Christian character. So let's jump in then. 1, the meek commit their ways to the Lord and trust in him. Recall that one of the definitions that I shared about meekness was being deficient in spirit and courage. I think there's a certain way that the world kind of expects us to have a very solid plan for everything and to rely on our own confidence, our own understanding, and our connections. But in the Bible, meekness is about surrender. It's about entrusting everything, our lives, our families, our careers, our hopes, our ambitions, our dreams, our health, to his control and to his guidance. And we see that in Psalm 37, verse 5. It's really about saying, God, I cannot do anything without you. I don't even know what to do, where to start, which way to go. So lead me, guide me. It's about believing that God has a better plan for us than we do for ourselves. And he is greatly honored by that sort of submission. The second thing we see about the meek is in verse 7, that the meek are still before the Lord and wait patiently for him. Different versions will say that the meek are quiet before the Lord. Now, it's interesting to me that the scripture talks of being both quiet and waiting patiently for him, meaning those are two separate things, both of which require great patience. To hear someone, we must silence our own thoughts. We must keep our mouths shut. We must be willing to hear out what they have to say. And then if they're going to say something, we must then give them the time. If they say that they're going to do something, we must then give them the time and the space to actually do that which they promised. But when it comes to God, you'll find that many of us don't even take the time to listen to what he wants. We actually kind of just skip that step altogether, and we tell him what we want. And then when we've waited for a total of like 2 minutes, we start getting upset and we're angry at God. We start complaining that God isn't answering our prayers according to our dimensions and our timelines. The truth is, those are not prayers. And maybe we can get into a different series on prayer in future, but prayer really is about communion with God. That is intimate fellowship with Him. It's a two-way street. And really, prayer should be about hearing from God and not telling Him what to do. It should be about Him changing our attitudes and our perspectives about things and us submitting to His will. The Lord's Prayer says, "Your will be done on earth as it is in heaven." And so by being still and by patiently waiting on the Lord, the meek are really humble. They are humble about their desires, and they are willing to seek and to search for more of Him than of His gifts. Related to this is the third point, and I think Psalm 37 verse 9 really talks about this and shines light on it, that the meek do not fret. When they see others prospering, and when people think that they are stuck or that God has abandoned them, they have this blessed assurance that He is still at work and is working for their good. They do not come up with plan Bs because God is taking too long. They don't develop bitterness because of the setbacks or the opposition that they have experienced or the obstacles that they are facing. No, they hold firm to the promise that God keeps His promises and will make all things beautiful in His time. So God promises that the meek will, not might, but will inherit the earth. But as we've seen from who the meek truly are, it's not about us being forceful or assertive or aggressive or power hungry, the way that our human nature or the world would sort of call us and drive us to be. To me, this is really talking about the evidence of our union with Christ. It's about being humble about our desires and entrusting everything about our lives to Him, believing that He is the one that will greatly reward us. I hope that this has been an encouragement to you. Maybe you've just never understood what it means to be meek, and maybe you've even had situations where you've been struggling with a lot of things. Hold fast to depending on God, trusting in Him as we've seen in the first two parts, and now being humble about your desires, and the Lord will surely reward you as by His word. So that's it from me this week. I pray that this has been a blessing to you. I'd love to hear from you, to hear your thoughts. What are your experiences with this? How have you encountered being meek? What are your thoughts? Let us know at CITAM Church Online. You can also catch up with me at Joyce Omondi. That's on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Until next time, have yourselves a wonderful week. God bless.